In this video, I'm going to share our ADHD-friendly bank account setup. This is our current bank account setup. We have a lot of things set up that have helped us with our neurospicy brains after years of money fights, shame and embarrassment around money, going into debt, getting out of debt, and figuring out that ADHD really affects how you handle your money. People with ADHD can have a lot of problems with money because it affects your executive functioning. Executive functioning is what controls the mental processes that control things like focus, planning, executing on the plan, remembering important details, and impulse control. All of those things really affect how you handle your money. People with ADHD also either have avoidant or spontaneous decision-making skills, so they do things like avoid their money completely, or they make financial decisions on a whim, which doesn't always lead to the best outcomes. So we have learned a lot about ADHD and money over the years, and everything I'm sharing is what works for us personally. This is not advice that you should implement this system. It is just showing you what works for one family that has ADHD. I do want to encourage you to try different things and try different setups and see what works for you. For us, having one joint bank account that everything comes out of was a failure. It was a complete miss, complete fail, and did not work. This works really well for some people, and it's a great system for people that it works for. But for us, it caused fights, it caused disasters with our money. It was just a bad system. So finding the right system that works for you is what you need to do, and realizing that when something fails, it doesn't mean you failed, it just means that wasn't the right system for you. Okay, so let's jump into our current bank account system. I've broken this up into 6 different areas. So basically we have 6 different account types, and that might sound like a lot, but I will explain why we have each one. So the first one is our checking account. This is our first checking account, and it is a joint checking account, and it is our bill pay checking. So our bill pay checking covers anything that is a bill, that is an expected expense or a anticipated expense, or things that come up that are able to be cash flowed throughout the month. And this is things that are bills that are paid via credit card or bills that are paid via ACH. So they draw directly out of this account. This account is where our direct deposit goes, and it's where we keep a buffer of money so that if something does get missed or is forgotten, it is covered and it doesn't overdraft this account. This account is completely automated. It is not an account where we are pulling for spending. This account is where automated bills get paid from. That is all that is for, and it is not an account we use to spend money every single week. We don't use it for that. We do have a second checking account. So the second checking account is a joint account, and this is our spending checking account. Splitting up our checking accounts into spending and bills has been so helpful for us specifically. And having a spending account has been really helpful for our version of ADHD and how we handle money. We have a spending account that gets renewed every single week because we get paid weekly. So every single week we put money into this account. And this account is used for gas, groceries, spending for the kids, miscellaneous expenses, anything that comes up during the week. This is where it comes from. It's a joint account, so we both have debit cards, we both use this account, and this is where our weekly spending comes from. I have moved this recently to a separate bank than our other bank because I like to try out bank accounts, but also having our spending account separate from our other account makes it less likely that we will just put money over, pull money from our other accounts to put towards spending. We don't want to do that. We want to have a hard stop on our spending. And for us, having it in its own account that is not really connected to other accounts has been very helpful. We can't pull money from savings over to this account. They're not connected. So there's no way for us to add money. If we spend our money for the week, we spend our money for the week. And this account can be spent down to zero. That works really well for our flavor of ADHD, and having an account where you can spend it down to zero without it being stressful or scary or a problem has been helpful. It's just something that we do. We accept that we do it, and having that in a separate bank, in a separate account, and it being okay if it's at zero helps. This is not for everyone. Some people don't ever get close to zero. They don't have that drive to spend down to zero in an account. It's not something they would ever think of doing. But if that is something that you do, your brain does it, and you just somehow are constantly spending down to zero every single time, give yourself an account where that's okay. Like I said, this advice is not for everyone, and people that don't have ADHD probably will watch this video and be like, this is so dumb, why do you do that? It's not dumb if it works. So that has worked for us. And another thing I want to say about the spending account is this is where we use our debit cards because we are not credit card people. You'll see later in the video that I do use credit cards for specific purchases, but I don't use them for weekly spending because that for us has not worked out. If you are someone that has impulse control issues or spending issues, credit cards probably are not going to be for you. And you might want to only use a debit card. And if you're worried about your account getting hacked or anything, having this separate spending checking account can help with that too. So next we have our personal accounts. I have my own personal account. My husband has his own personal account. And these are accounts where we have our own personal money for spending. I don't have access to his account. He does not have access to my account. Every time we get paid, we have an amount of money that we agreed on that go into our personal accounts. This money is for us to do with whatever we want. We can spend it, we can save it, we can pile it up, we can spend it down to zero every single week. It does not matter. And the other person has no input, has no say, and does not see it. This is actually one of the things that has helped us so much in our marriage, because having our own accounts outside of a joint account where we both see every single expense has been really, really helpful. That's because personally we spend money differently. My husband spends very differently than I do, and having separate accounts where I'm not micromanaging him, he doesn't know what I'm doing, has been great. It's saved a lot of headaches, and personally I think all people should have their own account that they have access to and no one else has access to, because that gives you the freedom and autonomy to save money if you need it for something, to have freedom of your own spending. So I highly recommend having your own personal account. It doesn't have to be a lot of money that you get every single time you get paid, but just having something gives you the ability to spend freely without judgment, without any sort of negativity, and it also gives you the ability to save if you need to. So in a healthy relationship, you definitely talk about this and have the system set up where you get a certain amount of money and do with that what you want. It's helped us so much. I just cannot recommend having a joint account and personal accounts enough. It's just been amazing for us. All right, next we have our big goal savings account. So this is things that are for saving up a big chunk of money. So it's your emergency fund, or it's something like saving for a car or saving for a house. These are big goals, and people with ADHD can struggle with saving for a big goal like this. So what we did was open up a high yield savings account at a whole different bank. This is not connected to our checking accounts at all. We automated our savings, so we have a certain amount that goes every single time we get paid to that savings account. If you watched my weekly videos before when I was doing Transfer Tuesday, you would see that $50 or $100 every single week go toward that account, and that was automated. So having automated savings into a savings account at a different bank that you can't touch, really, really helpful. Honestly, if you have ADHD and you have trouble saving money, this is one of the best things you can do, is open a high yield savings account at a completely different bank. No debit card, no way to pull money out easily. It has to be something that is hard to get money for. It takes a couple days to get the money out back to your other account. So this way you can kind of set it and forget it until you have the amount that you need. If you're saving for an emergency fund, this can be the best way to do it, just so it's not in your regular account. So you're not pulling from it constantly. Every time your checking account gets down to zero, you're pulling money over. You really do need an emergency fund. And if you need to separate it into a different bank, do it. I recommend it. It's worked well for us. And then we also have savings accounts that are sinking funds that are attached to our checking accounts. They're at the same bank, because these are goals that are savings accounts for certain things that we will eventually spend. So for us, it works okay to have our savings accounts at the same bank that our checking is at, and we just put money every single payday into these accounts. And these sinking funds are things like car repairs, vacations, Christmas. I have a whole video on sinking funds and how they work. You can watch that. I will link it down below. But sinking funds are basically just saving up in a savings account for a specific goal you'll be spending on. Usually it's within 6 months to a year or even less. And this is money that we put into savings accounts at our bank. And then we know that eventually when that time comes, we will be spending it. So it's easy to just transfer back to the checking account and spend it. Again, this is what works for us. It doesn't work for everyone. Some people like to keep all of their money in one account and they just have a spreadsheet that's like, this is for this, this is for this, this is for this. I like to see my money split out into visual categories. So having a savings account that has either buckets or vaults or different sub accounts has been really helpful, because I can visually see, oh, I have this much money here. I have this much money here. I do have a sinking funds tracker spreadsheet that I've been using, and that's been really helpful as well. But you have to figure out what works for you. Maybe it's having those different sub accounts. Maybe it's having one account that everything is tracked in a spreadsheet. For us, having the different accounts so we can visually see, oh, that's for car repairs. Oh, that's for house repairs. Oh, that's for Christmas. And each one is separate, has worked fantastically. That's also why I recommend certain accounts like Capital One, Ally, SoFi, because they do have that system where things are split out, and that makes it really easy to see your savings because it's in those specific savings accounts that are for sinking funds. And then finally, let's talk about credit cards, because we do use credit cards. We do have a credit card. I do like getting points, and I do some travel hacking and redeem this for free flights every single year. However, we are not credit card people in our daily spending. We cannot do it. It does not work for us. We always go too far, and then I'm stressed about how to pay it. So we no longer use credit cards for our regular spending. We don't use credit cards for things like gas or spending at Target or things like that. We only use credit cards for bills. Bills are things that we are going to pay anyway, and most of them are automated, so they charge the card automatically every single month. Like our pest control, they charge us every single month. Our internet bill goes right onto the credit card, and then we pull from our bill pay checking to pay off that balance. I like to do it every single week because that just keeps it going for us and keeps it automated, and I don't have to worry about it building up to an amount that is scary for me. We still get all of the benefits of using a credit card. We get those points that I can then use to get a free flight or a free hotel or whatever, pay for trips, and cut the cost of travel for our family because I really love to travel. But we are not going into credit card debt because we're not using it for our weekly spending. This took a long time for me to accept and to switch to this system. So it took a long time for me to not want to use a credit card for our daily, weekly spending and to accept that we need to be debit card people or cash envelope people. It did take a lot of work to mentally accept that. But once I did accept that, I realized that this system is so much better. And having a bill pay credit card that is automated to be paid off from a bill pay checking account, and I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to think too much about it. I know that it's there, it's covering the bills that it needs to, and then it's paid off regularly every single week or 2 weeks. It works so well for us. And then I don't have to worry about building up a balance that is $1,000 or $2,000 more than we have to pay for it. I don't have to worry about stressing out about a balance that is too high. But I think with our current system, we have finally figured out a way to use credit cards, still get to do the credit card churning every so often so that we get bonuses, we get the points that we get to turn into free travel. So that's worked really well for us. Maybe it works for you, maybe it doesn't, but this is just the system that is currently working for us. And you know what? Maybe in 6 months or a year, this system won't be our system anymore. I'll be honest, we are constantly trying to evolve how things work for us, how it works for our family, how it works for our neurospicy brains, and it's a constant trial and error system where we have tried to detach the shame and embarrassment that comes from managing money poorly, especially as someone that talks about money on the internet all the time. I find that it can really weigh me down when things don't work like they work for other people. But finding the system that's really working well for us, it's taken some work and taken some time, but now I'm really happy with what we're currently doing. So yeah, that's just our current bank account setup system as people with ADHD that are trying to manage money well and achieve financial freedom. So we really have some big financial goals, and we don't want to let our neurospicy brains ruin that for us. So we have put these things into place, and it's really helped us a lot. We've made a lot of progress, and financially we are in one of the best places we could be, and we've achieved so much. I'm really proud of us, actually. So I would love to hear what's working for you with your ADHD and money, and if you use separate accounts or not, let me know in the comments, and I will have more videos about this topic coming out soon. So subscribe to Pennies Not Perfection if this was interesting to you, and watch this video next.